Hannes Schneider of Austria redefined alpine skiing. He gave it speed and created the first alpine ski teaching system. His influence was so pervasive that many in the sport saw him simply as God, and his disciples were foremost in teaching America how to ski. American alpine skiers fell under the spell of Austrian mountain culture as Austria's alpine ambassadors arrived in the Americas. This film is dedicated to Hannes and his disciples, for whom alpine skiing was the love of their lives, the bread of their existence, their way of life. This is their story, their legacy. The international sport of skiing originated in Norway during the late 1800s, where it stood for personal, spiritual, and national development. Norway's Arctic explorer Fridtjof Nansen, who made the first traverse of the Greenland ice cap on skis in 1888, was a leader in this movement. Skiers in the Telemark district of Norway invented the long, elegant telemark and the short sliding Christie turns, and took them abroad. In Austria, Norwegian downhill technique evolved into alpine skiing, whose goal was fast, controlled descents of the steep and high Alps.
We children used to play in the snow, and my first sight of a skier, I was about maybe 6 years old. Yeah, it was before World War I started out. And one day I looked up at the hill and I saw a man coming down in slope such as I have never seen. He came down gliding and as though he was flying or walking on air, but he was on skis. I didn't know at that time the skis even existed. And he had his arm outside, stretched side, and he made turns, one after the other, very elegant and very smooth. It was really an astounding sight. So when he stopped, I talked to him. I said, wow, this is wonderful. Can I see what you are using? He showed me his skis, and he said he learned to ski in Norway, and this is what they call a telemark. I said, wow, it's a beautiful thing. Someday I'm going to get a hold of a pair of skis and do it myself.
In Austria, crude homemade skis had been utilized by local farmers for transport.
These types of skis were used for the villagers to bring their supplies up to the huts, and the farmers that brought the butter and milk and eggs down into the village.
But Austria's extraordinary worldwide influence on alpine skiing didn't begin until the late 1800s, when the Austrian Matthias Zdarsky, an engineer and inventor, read Nansen's book, The First Crossing of Greenland. Fascinated by Nansen's story, Zdarsky had a friend bring him a pair of skis from Norway to his hometown of Lilienfeld. A self-taught skier, Zdarsky began experimenting and worked out a new turn, holding skis in a V position, unlike the telemark or the Christie. By using this stem position to break his speed and pivoting his skis around one long pole, Zdarsky kept his speed low, even on steep descents. In 1895, he published the first book on modern alpine ski technique, Lilienfelder Skilauf Technique. He organized the world's first large ski classes in Lilienfeld, and Austria's ski teaching legacy was born. One of the youngsters in the Lilienfeld area during Zdarsky's time was Bill Klein.
We were very fortunate. The town that I come from, or where I lived most of my childhood, was called Trysil Lilienfeld, where Matthias Zdarsky made his home. And he was well known to be a very active professional. He had ski schools already, and he would help us out in his original Alpini technique, the Lilienfelder Alpini technique. He was very famous throughout Europe because he was also in the Austrian Alpine troops. He had his ski schools all over in parts of Germany and in Austria. He taught as many as 20,000 or 30,000 people.
In the Austrian Alps, especially in the province of Tyrol, there already existed a culture of folk music, conviviality, drink, and dance. As hotels began to stay open for the winter, skiers joined hikers enjoying Austrian alpine culture.
Somehow